thank you for the blessings on us and our county. We pray for wisdom today as we make decisions for our constituents. We pray for direction, and we pray for protection for those that wear a badge and uniform. Be with our first responders and watch over them, keep them safe. Add to this prayer what is like, and we pray in Christ's name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening. Welcome to the September 2nd Commissioners Board meeting. Agenda and meeting notes were emailed out. Any changes or alterations?
Motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. We had a payroll of $301,773.66. Claims of $500,935.87. Can we get a motion to approve those?
Motion to accept the financials.
Second the motion for the financials.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Sheriff, spelling test at the beginning. Spelling test at the beginning.
Sheriff, 1 R, 2 Fs. As of today, we have 65 inmates in jail, 30 are pretrial circuit, 22 pretrial superior, 8 DOC, and 1 F6. As far as, I think I told you guys last time, we got both parking lots recovered and resurfaced. That's done and completed. I still have not gotten any kind of timeline or direction from Superior. Have you talked to Jeremy at all?
I have a meeting with him in the morning about
Do you? Okay. If you wouldn't mind hitting him up on that. I know they were still trying to figure out the drain line thing is, I think, the thing holding them up. So remind them I do have the budget or the funding secured for that, but that's got to be spent by the end of the year. So hopefully
the thing they're nervous about cutting the electrical lines is all.
Okay. I thought it had something to do with the drain, the grease trap.
We have a solution to that.
Okay.
I'll meet with him in the morning and get you some timeline.
Okay, I appreciate it. Ted, I sent a contract for review. I brought it up just briefly at the last meeting. Ted got with me on some questions. Just a little reminder, we countywide have a records management system called Spillman. We've been using it since 2009. It's shared by all the agencies in the county. You pay a maintenance fee every year for software upgrades, anything new that goes along with that. That is part of the sheriff's budget, the total amount, and then it's split between 5 or 6 different entities in the county. We pay for it in full, and then I invoice every year to those, 911, Bluffton PD, Austin PD, Fire Department. They all pay a portion of that, and that gets reimbursed back to the county. For years, they traditionally charge a 6% increase in those maintenance fees from year to year. I've been going back and forth with them for the last couple of years to readjust our maintenance fees. I think it was kind of silly that it goes up that much every year. They are proposing what they do for all new customers now is they do a subscription-based service for their product. And by doing that, it would lock in our maintenance fees for 5 years for the same rate for all 5 years. It's within $500 of what we paid last year. So it's a very lengthy, Ted can attest to it, it's 90-some pages. Most of it has to do with the product stuff that they offer. We actually will have benefits to other products. By doing the subscription, I reached out to all the department heads in it to make sure that they were on board. I know we were kind of the host agency when Spillman started, but I reached out to all the agency heads and got their thoughts, whether or not, basically it's just saying we would stick with them for 5 years, which I don't see any reason for us to leave. It's a good product. We utilize it. It's used amongst all us agencies in the county. So I I sent that to Ted for review. I'm looking to sign that with them to just lock our rates in. It'll save us 5 years from now, it's 6% every year. It'll be about 130-some thousand. It'll cost us about $36,000 more if we don't. So I think it's good, it's beneficial. So I'm just, I don't know where we're at on the 20-day review. It's probably stamped on yours, maybe, I don't know, but,
Oh, I've got a couple more days.
well, sure. So,
I would suggest with the explanation I got from the sheriff on the questions that I had, that we should approve that the contract should be in the name of the Wells County Sheriff. So if you would, I don't know that you have to do anything other than to designate, and I said the Wells County Sheriff, it should be in the name of Wells County,
sure.
but the sheriff can go ahead and approve the agreement or sign the agreement on our
Yep.
behalf, and then it would go through your budget.
We're not purchasing anything new. This is product we've had this product since 2009. So it's been a long-standing relationship we have with them. I'm just trying to keep our costs, I'll probably be long gone after that 5 years is done. There'll probably be a renegotiation on maintenance fees come 5 years from now, but it'll save us money over the next 5 years.
But the subscription fees similar to what we pay now, just reduces our maintenance fee?
It'll keep us from getting that 6% increase every year.
But is the subscription fee the same as what we're usually paying annually?
It's within $500 of what we paid last year.
The first year, according to the sheriff, will be a small increase in what was paid for 2025, but it will be frozen over the 5-year period, so it won't go 6,000 higher, 6,000 amortized higher, so it results in agreeing to a 5-year subscription.
Yeah, off the top of my head, last year's maintenance fee was $99,600 and some odd dollars. This is locking it in at $100,000 a year.
And if they increased it by 6%, the 6% increase for the next year would have been higher.
Than what we're paying, yeah.
106 and
Yep.
112 and.
Right.
Yep, and this will take effect, the first year will start next year, so.
Calendar year, January 1.
As long as the contract looks good and we're getting the same service, it's kind of a no-brainer.
I'll make
I'll
a
second.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't have anything else.
I'll call you tomorrow after I talk to
Okay,
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott.
Yep, thank you.
Mr. Witt?
Thank you.
Do you want yours back?
You what?
Do you want one back?
You're all right, sure. Couple things for this evening, posted on the agenda. Our hours of operation on, and I apologize, I did not put it on here. October 3rd, we will be going back to 5-day weeks, 7 to 3. We're currently on 4-day weeks, Monday through Thursday, 6 to 4. And the plan is to stay on 5-day weeks until April 3rd of 2026. Looking at the sunrise schedule, it's not behooving us to be in any earlier than 7 a.m. starting in October. So we will start those 5-day weeks then, because we're going to lose the advantage that we had during the summertime to complete more work in a 10-hour day. Projects, we're still watching for the Hoosier Highway to have a pre-final inspection. Does sound like we have a meeting in Indianapolis on Friday.
I sent you that invite.
Thank you, sir. County Home Road, Brooks will be back out late September to finish the surface layer treatment on the roadway. Everything else seems to be in good order. I traveled it this morning just to verify what we got from the construction inspector. It does look very well, so I'll be excited when it's done.
Did they take the chips and do that dirt road next to it in chips? Grindings? Nate's shaking his head, yes.
Okay. Operations-wise, last week, we finished a pipe on County Road 800 South for Jared Hahn. His contractor came up both sides of the road. We finished it under the road for him. Last week, we also did a pipe on County Road 1200 South. It was a 66-inch squash pipe, 51 feet long. Took a little over 2 days to do it. We finished dressing out the sides this morning, so we'll keep an eye on it, get grass growing. But that has been completed. And then this week, we started collecting our, every 6 months, Pazer data to see what our roads look like. The data we're going to collect in the fall, we're going to use for planning for next year. And then we will go back out in March, just see if we have any changes and if we need to pivot on any type of patching or chip seal. Equipment-wise, I put out a request for quotes for a new air compressor. I went and looked at the one that the county owns. I had to do some research online. It's powered by a flathead inline 6, and Chrysler hasn't made one since 1964, so I think it's kind of due for a new one. Outside of that, I can't give you exact age, but this is something we will use for crack sealing. We can also eventually get a jackhammer for it, but using it with the compressed air to clean out cracks in the roadway to put oil down in them is my main goal with it through the winter. And then with some of the new roads we're bringing online being asphalt, it'll do the same job in the summer when we put chrome rubber down on those cracks as well, something like the Hoosier Highway as it starts to age. So starting to get ahead of those issues, so we're ready when they arise, if they do arise. And then this morning, the two road foremen and myself went to Fort Wayne. We met at Southeastern Group. We are looking at a new asphalt distributor truck, and that is the tanker truck you see that goes in front of the chip spreader. Ours is a 2002. Has a few issues. Some of the parts are becoming obsolete. Normally, you don't run these past 10 years of age. The oldest one that NDOT has is at that 10-year mark, and it's about due. But the guys have ran it as well as they can. It has also been added on in order to be functional and reciprocal with our chip spreader. So it's wasn't made for the width that our chip spreader can do. So we looked at a new one today. There's only really two brands out there that make the make distributors. One is Etnire. There's actually three, I guess, Etnire and Bearcat, but Etnire owns Bearcat, and the other one is Lee Boy, which is out of Brandeis. So we will see what we come back with, get some specs written up, and start that process, and see where we go. I do not have hard numbers yet, so I don't want to speculate.
Will that be a 2025 expenditure or 2026?
We're going to see how quickly they can get around to us and have further discussions.
Just make sure the council knows about that, so we
Sure.
got it in the budget.
That's what I have this evening. Oh, and I have one right away.
Is this
One right-of-way from the Area Planning Commission for property located at 900 South, owned by the Gilbert Revocable Trust that needs to be approved.
I'll make a motion to accept the right away.
Do you want to talk about the Meridian Road right-of-ways too?
I do have one from Meridian Road between 1100 North and 1200 North, SNSZE LLC. They came in and signed it. That took a moment. Mr. Storer and myself, I think his office, he had a few folks on your team, and we found a representative who could sign for them. So once we do that, we should be good from, go ahead.
I'm going to interrupt you, Matt. We have 4 total on the Meridian Road project. We do have the SZSNE, one of their neighboring properties. The Stanoffs have signed at 11 to 1200. The Reeds have signed at 11 to 1200, and then the Gruss have signed at 1200 to 1300. So we actually have 4 on the Meridian Road project for approval today.
Way to go.
Okay?
Yeah, bro.
That clears us up from 1000 North to 1200 North, so we have 2 consecutive miles. We have worked fairly hard. I went up again this afternoon for the 3rd time for a property down, that's between 800 and 900.
We have 1 holdout at that block.
We cannot get someone to answer the door or answer a phone. And then between 900 and 1,000, we have 2. One does not want to give anything more than what they've already given. So we're still working through those 2, but we do have 2 consecutive miles that once we can get through these rights away, we can get that on our docket this fall to start clearing, to begin that conversion process on those 2 miles.
It's great, it's those 2 miles, but all the houses are on the 8 to 900.
Again,
That's where they have the bus and-
there's a single holdout on the 8 to 900. We've communicated directly with that owner. Matt, Jared, and the county engineer Nate have all gone out to mark the property to show her what the right-of-way extension means. We've answered the questions of that particular owner that we're not planning on putting any sidewalks in. We're doing it for safety. And ever since then, it's gone radio silent. As Matt said, he and his department have taken great efforts to try to go out and recommunicate with that person, both at the address of the property as well as her residence. The two holdouts at 900 to 1,000, again, as Matt has said, one has just said no. So we're going to have to come up with a strategy on what do we do with that individual. The other, I thought, at least was amenable to the idea, and then it's just been slow to get the proper signers to sign that last. So we have 3 holdouts from 900 to 1,300 at this point.
I'd like to run out there with you and Nate and just understand if we don't, if we have to stay within the right-of-ways we have now, what do the ditches and that look like? Is it impossible to get the road where we need it to be? Not where we want it to be, but where we need it to be, because this could go on for a decade.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's impossible. The ditches would be fairly steep on the banks. So the maintenance side of that, for both us and or the homeowner, I know homeowners like to mow more than we do. I think that would be their sticking point once we did it. But it's
Might
something
convince them
we
to
can-
give us the right-of-way.
I would not disagree with that.
I just get calls from bus drivers and the kids that are on that road that,
Sure.
it's great we got 2 miles of unoccupied road, but where those houses are is the place we need to get done first. So we got time this week, let's run out there maybe Thursday and take a peek and just see what our options are.
It might be interesting to see if you're able to get that for the other miles of the roadway, whether or not they see the benefit after we do it for the others and not theirs, if that's something that we could do. But I would leave that up to you, Matt and Nate.
If we can find a solution, doing 4 miles is cheaper than doing a mile at a time. It's just whether we think we can do it or not.
Right.
So thanks, Matt, for all your work on that. So I would entertain a motion to approve the 1 right-of-way for APC and then the 4 rights-of-way on Meridian.
So moved.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Matt, is this yours? It says estimate for Green and Brooks, has your name all over it. Well, it actually has
That's
Nate's name
Nate's.
all over it.
Yep.
Nate,
All right, I think I've got that.
all right, Nate, you're up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First up, utility permit. This was pretty short notice. It actually just came to me this morning, but I knew it was coming. I had asked for it to come last week. I think it just ran a little long, so was Lisa able to forward that to you guys? Okay. It's pretty straightforward. It's Heartland REMC. They're just doing a little bit of expansion work down on 750 South, so it's a handful of new poles and about 800 foot of line.
Make a motion to accept the utility permit.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
Next up, some project updates. I don't know if any of you guys have seen Meridian Road is nearing completion. They put shoulder stone down. They're doing striping tomorrow. Past that, I believe all that's left would just be the section corners. So I'm going to make a phone call tomorrow to see if the sub that's doing the section corners would be willing to do them with the road open, because I believe they probably quoted that to do that under the closure. So as long as they're willing to do that, then hopefully we can get that opened up this week, because I don't think they're scheduled to do those section corners this week. I believe it's next. Bridge 65 replacement down on Jeff Road. You can see, we've got some pictures here for you guys. Last week, they poured the end vents and set the beams. This week, they will be welding deck pans in place and tying the deck steel to prep for the deck pour. And then, as Matt mentioned, we had Rick Ramsey come in and set that large pipe down on 1200 South last week. I don't know if you guys remember, we had mentioned that was kind of a reoccurring suck hole down there. It was previously two pieces of pipe, and where they met under the center line of the road, they had shifted, and it was sucking material anytime it would rain real hard down in that area. So only a handful of times this year, but every single time we had a hard rainfall event, within a week, we'd get a call about the hole opening up in the roadway, and the guys would go down and Durapatch it, fill it best they could, Durapatch it to kind of get us by. So we went ahead and pulled the trigger and had that one replaced. Last topic on my agenda is the Kingsland paving quote that Jeff had just mentioned. We did receive 3 quotes. The one, I believe, that's on top in your packet is the one I am recommending. It was the best priced quote, and that's with Greens Paving.
It's apples to apples.
It is.
Make a motion to accept your suggestion, Greens.
I think the largest portion of the price discrepancies between the 3 quotes is dealing with where we're at in the season and how much work they have. So,
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0. That's quite a discrepancy, though.
That's a lot.
I don't disagree.
Kind of a nice problem to have, almost.
Yeah. Anything else for me?
Thursday, you and Matt get together and let's figure out something Thursday midday.
Okay.
Okay. Economic update.
No.
Hello. Alrighty. Try to condense this a little bit so it's not so much blabbing, because that's what I feel like I'll be doing, but just wanted to give you guys just a quick little update since we've last spoke. The numbers I'm going to give you are not all public, haven't all been reported, but I did want to give you guys just sort of an update on where we are year-to-date for investment, capital investment with new businesses and job numbers. Again, some of these have not been announced entirely, so this is just kind of a pledged amount of capital investment and job numbers. So we're at 350 newly created jobs here within Wells County. That is a mix of Ossian, Bluffton, and Markle. Yeah, and Markle for Wayne Metals. Just slightly over 66 million in capital investment. Some of these have been public, so I feel like I can say a few of them, but one of the most recent new companies in town will be Palmer Donovan. That is public information. They are working in the Adam Street Spec Building that is now known as the Palmer Donovan Building. Glad to have that public now. So actually, we're working on some coordination efforts with them on a big hiring day. We'll be working with our partners in Fort Wayne. The DWD, Northeast Indiana Works, doing a blast out on News Channel 21, 15, their website. Our local chamber will, of course, do their part in posting for the jobs, and then we will do like a hiring day where they let folks come in and see the site and apply in person if they want to. So some good things coming that way.
They have a movie crew out there, did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Ricky says there's a movie crew out there and then
I didn't know.
probably an additional 10 million in landlord expenses going into that same
Okay.
facility.
Really good stuff, though. They are so good to work with. I mean, they're great, and they're looking for opportunities of how they can be involved in our community already, so it's pretty good.
Great.
Yep. A lot has gone on with conversations regarding just workforce in general, but just to be a little bit more specific with that, we've had some pretty coordinated efforts with bringing in some manufacturers, local businesses. I'm already speaking with them anyway on what they need, what their business, what are some of the job descriptions they just have a really hard time filling, so on and so forth. And we know our CTE trades classes, they're filling about 14, almost 15% of our students are enrolled in CTE classes. This is good. I'd love that to be higher, but this is a pretty good start. And so we've been bringing manufacturers in, sort of having them give me a mock pay stub along with a job posting, and we are sharing that with the business teachers, the instructors, like the welding instructors, the electrical instructors, just so they can use that for material in their classes, just to say, even if you just had the most basic job description here and you had no additional skills, here's what you're going to earn in Wells County. You come right out of high school and you start working. And then we're providing them with a job description with some basic skills, some welding certificates, pipe fitting certificates, just various different things. And then we're showing them, now this is what you can earn with those very small but consequent, like great, skills that they're getting while they're in high school. And it's about a $4 to $6 difference in earnings. So we're trying to show them sort of where the numbers are. I think the first talk, especially when you're talking to a 16, 17, or 18-year-old, here's what you can realistically earn when you leave. And the goal of that is, again, that they stay here, that we want them to know what's available here for them. And that's just a very small portion of what we're bringing out. Those are just some of our local manufacturers. We haven't even dove into some of the other careers that they can obtain here. So just wanted to give you guys a little bit of update on that and sort of some of the coordinated efforts we're putting in to bring some awareness to our students. One of the things that you'll hear a lot about and probably have is the work-based learning criteria that our schools have to comply with for students to achieve their diploma. So all students have to have work-based learning. It's not just you go in and you get your Core 40 diploma and you leave. You have to work during high school now to obtain your diploma. It's not just come in, take your classes, and you leave. Every student has to receive some hours. So with that being said, I'm kind of trying to blend the educator talk with the employer talk and sort of blend those two so that we're saying the same thing. That's kind of different. If you go into a school and you hear all the things that they're talking about, it's very different than what you hear, our workforce talking about. So doing a lot of that, trying to make sure that everybody understands the importance of the role our businesses play here. It is hard to bring students in to some of these environments. Some of their insurance companies say they have to be 18. They can't really put their hands on a lot of things because there's a lot of liability there. But overall, we just really want our employers to know the important role they play by allowing some of those students to come and work during the school hours. Whether that's internships over the summer, hours paid during the day, you name it. We're just trying to make sure that we bridge that gap for communication-wise. And again, so our educators have good meaningful connections with our businesses here. I don't want them going to Fort Wayne to find their first job if I can establish that relationship with someone local. So that's kind of another back end to that. So we're doing a lot of that right now. I'm in and out of the schools quite a bit right now with that. And then there is some conversations going on with a post-secondary learning exploratory group. So that's a group of about 12 people, just trying to kind of get our minds wrapped around the idea if Wells County can support a post-secondary learning training center. That would not be to replace our CTE. They're still getting those certificates and still doing those courses in our schools, and that's where that will stay. But we do have workforce that could be upskilled, and right now, a lot of our employers are already sending these workers to Ivy Tech. They're going to Fort Wayne. That's hard to do. It's hard to leave an entire day to go up and take whatever course that is, and then they still need to get the work done in the factory or in the shop. So we're sort of just, again, trying to explore the idea if Wells County could support a post-secondary training center. That would be for robotics, that could be for CDL licensing, you name it. Anything, maintenance, HVAC, technical, IT, the list goes on. So just wanted to bring that to your awareness as well. I send out this incredibly annoying survey to you guys a while back about a SWOT analysis. I know that it was a pretty lengthy analysis that they were asking for, but our partnership asked us to compile from all of the 11 counties in our region. Everybody was asked to do it. And I do have those results. I don't think that any of it is going to be shocking to anybody sitting here. I just wanted to point out just a couple of things for you guys because I think that they apply directly to Wells County. One of the weaknesses that was listed in all 11 counties was the infrastructure readiness and having sites that are actually shovel-ready. Not necessarily, spec buildings built on them. You can't always have a spec building. I think that Wells County's been somewhat lucky to have a few ready-to-go sites, but we don't actually have any sites ready to go right now that are shovel-ready. So we have some work to do on that.
And shovel-ready.
The electrical is ready to be hooked up. We have the proper zoning for industrial, heavy, light. But we don't have any of those parceled off with options ready to sell right now. I don't have any just shovel-ready sites that I can say, this is zoned properly for you. We have electrical, we have water infrastructure. I don't have any of those just ready to go right now. I have ideas and I can send parcels, I can reach out to owners, but it's not actually, I don't have an option on them.
I think you got a couple, we should just say.
We do need to put some, so that's one of the things that I'll bring to you guys for 26, but that'll be a high priority in 26. I think that it would be, this might be a little overzealous, but I think we should have 6. I'm hoping to have at least 2, but I would really, really like to have 6, so.
I know you
wanted to
have-
bring that out.
I know you have 2, we just need to identify which 2 they are.
Okay.
They are,
Well, the ones that I thought we had, I don't.
okay.
So, more to come on that. Obviously, housing, that's not a surprise. We know we need some housing, and I think that that is in motion. I think that housing is, no, we're not where we need to be, but I think that it's going in the direction that we need to be.
And we had you had that meeting this morning just
I did.
about housing.
Yep. So hosted a roundtable sort of discussion today with Upstar, which is the Realtor Alliance. And so they came down to Wells. They haven't been here, and did they say 3 years? I think they said roughly 3 years. They haven't been down here, so this was a good time for us to host them. Wanted to talk with them about what developments we have going on, what new workforce we have bringing in. So I brought up, some of the new businesses we're bringing in. And then really just what do we want? Like, what do we want to see here? So we had a really good conversation with them today. We did a little tour of downtown Bluffton. It was good. It was a really good, I think, a very productive meeting. And again, one of the big conversations is housing, but it's really more about not just single-family housing. It's, do we have apartments? Do we have adequate different types of homes? Do we have townhouses, condos? Not everybody wants to live in a 1 to 4 family unit. Some people aren't ready to buy and aren't buyers, and they might just want a good rental. So we have some work to do with diversifying the kind of housing that we offer here or have here. And then, of course, healthcare. That was a huge weakness for Wells County. We don't have a ton of services here. A lot of things have left. We all know that. It's not a huge surprise. I think that there's probably some things we can all do. Again, high priority probably for next year when it comes to, at least just highlighting where the places are that people can go. So if you're on the south end, if you're in the south part of our county, what's the closest to you? I think that we can do a better job of sort of bringing people some awareness of, where their facilities are. I know that they know a little bit about who offers what, but I think as a county, we could probably do a little bit better than that. We can't just bring a hospital in all the time. That's a big deal. It's a lot of investment, a lot that goes into that. But I do think we have some work to do when it comes to what is being offered healthcare-wise and EMS and so on and so forth.
Childcare was the other thing.
And then childcare. Yep, one of the last big things is childcare. And again, not a surprise, I don't think. Childcare is hard. It's hard to find facilities that are quality facilities. Some of them cannot maybe receive the vouchers that some of our families are qualified for. So there's a lot happening with that. Adams and Wells has a coalition of Imagine Early. You may have all heard about it, But there is already a targeted group working on that. Her name is Ashley King, and she's great. She's putting some real serious work in for Adams and Wells. So there'll be more information coming out on that. I wouldn't want to take, away from what she's doing with that, but there's a tri-share program and a co-share program. The tri-share program, just simply the employer, as part of their employment package, pays for a third of the cost, up to a certain amount, they can cap it. The employee, the family would pay a third of that childcare cost, and then there's grant funding for the remaining third. And then the co-share is if you don't qualify for the tri-share, the employer and the family can divide that again in half. They can take the employer, if they're willing to, again, part of their employment package, can pay for half of that family's childcare. So I think that there's a large amount of workforce out there that frankly is just completely, we don't even know who's out there that would be willing to work if they had an opportunity to take their children to a quality childcare that is within a reasonable distance from their home.
Right.
I mean, it's unreasonable to ask somebody to, from Southern Wells to drive to Austin to drop their child off because they have somebody that takes a voucher. That's unreasonable to ask for that. And I think that's probably, again, one of our county's largest, I say this loosely, largest weaknesses. We're just spread out. We have populations in different spaces in our county, and that's going to be hard. So I said this earlier today, I think constructing a large facility may or may not, depending on the feasibility, be right for Wells County. Because again, it's unfeasible for somebody in the southern part of our county to, where do you put it? Do you put it smack dab in the center? Whereas, what employers need it the most? It's just, there's a lot that goes into that. But I do think that with the Imagine Early coalition we already have, and then bringing the tri-share and co-share program, that's a big deal. We just need to bring the awareness to some of the employers so that they know that's an option for them. And again, they can set their maximum amount. It's not endless. It's quite a cost of childcare. So I just thought I'd bring some of those out. And of course, I only talked about our weaknesses. There are plenty of strengths in here too. I didn't mean to be a doomsdayer, but I just thought that you guys would, as commissioners, would want to hear some of that. And then I can send that to you too, so you can see the aggregated data.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do we get to stay within the northeast?
Hasn't been announced yet, but we're supposed to find out maybe as early as today. But it just seems like that information is coming out slowly, so.
Is that made in Indy? Is governor's office making it?
Governor, that's correct. I don't imagine we would be taken out of that. We are in the northeast, so I don't think that's going to happen. It's who will be at it or who will.
I would say there might be a couple fringe ones gone and a
Yeah.
couple added, I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Regionally, I mean, I can kind of see where some of that thought process comes from, but, every county is really different, y'all. Very different strengths and weaknesses. We do share a lot of the same weaknesses just because we are all rural communities, but in general, we do operate differently, so we'll see. I don't have that yet. And then, I talked about the site readiness a little bit. One of the last things I just wanted to bring to you guys is 2026, site readiness will be a high priority, I think, for EDC. Of course, I'll bring that to my board and make sure that they all agree that that's where we want to take kind of our efforts, but I do think as a county, that will be a really big deal for us going forward, is just to make sure that, and infrastructure-wise too, we're not just kind of out in the boondocks. We really kind of want to be in spaces that we want that growth, where our capacity is already, things like that. So you guys will have some more information for me coming on that, just to see what we need to do next in order to have some of those spaces ready to go. But any questions for me? Anything I can help answer?
What support do you need from us?
Probably when it comes to the site stuff, I'm gonna need just some connections, maybe help making some of those connections with some of those landowners. I take that, it's people's land. Preservation of land is important, and I don't want to just kind of come on in and act like, oh, don't you want to sell your land to us? And then negotiating some of those costs, that's important too, making sure that they get what they need out of it and it makes sense for us infrastructure-wise. So again, it's not just any bits of land. It's going to be a targeted effort to make sure we're kind of going after what we want. So yeah, I will 100% need help with that aspect. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Jess.
great.
Mr. Miller and Seth.
I'm tired of looking at this spreadsheet.
I think we talked about it a little bit. It's comparing the yellow column to the whatever color that other column is.
Light blue.
Blue.
Carolina blue.
I'm
If that means
colorblind.
anything.
They're all the same color.
You gonna start? You want me to start?
Yeah, I'll just start real quick. So first, my apologies about the delay in getting this budget over to you. Following the interlocal agreement, the process for the budget is that it goes through the Budget Committee, which it did. It got voted on in the 911 Board, which it did. And then it comes to this body, County Council, and then the city. In the midst of approving everything, which we did, which is the budget you have in front of you, so that has been approved by the Budget Committee and 911 Board. In the midst of doing it and doing the budget, it was brought to our attention that at some point next year, there's probably going to be an opportunity to move locations. If you've been over there, the 911 area dispatch is very crowded. We've added some more employees to get fully staffed. They really have outgrown that space. Well, being that we didn't know when that would occur, I said, let's just push through the budget that we know it is today, because why plan on something we don't know if it's going to happen or not? Well, after we passed the budget through the proper channels, then a budget was sent to you guys, where in the 11th hour, there was an opportunity to go ahead and put a move into the budget. We shelved that for now, because a week or so ago when that occurred, there just was not enough time to go back and get it through the Budget Committee, the board to approve it, which per the interlocal agreement, it has to be done that way. So the idea is that when we have more time to vet what the move would look like, we'll come before you at that time and share with you what the change to the budget might look like. There were just too many gaps with the move to even vet that to come before you to say, here's definitively what that cost would be. So instead of trying to do something in the 11th hour just to push it through, I said, let's just put the budget through that we already passed, and then we can come through the appropriate channels to do an additional of some sort if we deem that a move is necessary and we all agree on the cost of it.
Do we know, is the move is it planned that it is going to happen and we need to prep for that?
Well,
Or the plan just, we'd like it to go there? and
Good
then-
question. The idea is, I think we would like it to go there because there just isn't space where they're at now for what's going on. However, to get there, we still would have to have the Budget Committee and the board approve it. And since we haven't done that, and the costs associated with it, I didn't want to come before this body and give you some hypothetical numbers and say, hey, let's vote on it. But I would like to think that probably by the first of the year, there'll be clarity around that, and we could come and present to this body what that move would look like, what the cost would be, and make our case for why that is needed.
You know, just knowing that what the number looked like, it needs to be at a market number.
Exactly. And that was where I wasn't comfortable with. And also pushing through something in the 11th hour of that size, that's not what I would
Totally agree.
prefer to ever do.
Totally agree.
So this is the budget that came out of the Budget Committee. Again, just a little bit of history with the interlocal agreement. I know Commissioner Vanover and I worked pretty heavily on that along with the county attorney for a couple years. But the idea with the interlocal agreement is that over a 5-year period, we pull out one salary a year from the 911 fund. So we have a couple different funds that we work with. The 911 fund by the state is supposed to be used mostly for capital improvements, not salaries. But we have 5 salaries sitting in there. So the idea is that we pull one salary out per year. So when you see some of the big increases in salaries, one of the reasons for that is that we are pulling, again, another salary out of 911 into the budget. And then also, we have, per the interlocal agreement, that the staffing needs are 15 full-time dispatchers. And until recently, we've never really gotten there. So when you look at the budgeted versus expended, it's similar to some departments to where you just can never get fully staffed. So what you budget for may not always be what gets expended.
Correct.
Mike, I'll turn the rest of it over to you because this is your budget.
Okay.
I tend to talk too much.
No, you're fine. I apologize also for how long this has taken. This has been one of the most frustrating years in trying to get this put together. And in addition to the building, just having to change over with the mayor and feeling things out, things just went a little different than what I had planned on. So, I don't know, do you want me to go through each line? You guys have had time to look at it?
I guess the highlights, you had mentioned that you're at 12 now with
Yeah.
2 interviews lined up.
I have 2 applications, so they still have to go through our testing before we would get it to the interview portion. But I'm always hopeful that anybody that applies can make it to that. So, and if that would be the case, then we would be up to 14.
Out of 15, so we're almost fully staffed.
Yeah. And it's been rough getting there, but we're slowly creeping up on that number, so. So I'm trying to remember back what some of the concerns were or questions were when I came initially. I don't remember what.
We were asking about the delta between what you actually spent plus what you're budgeting, but I think for the commissioners, if you look at that column next to the blue column where it says 25 total forecast, that's whatever that actual spend is what we pay 50% of.
Yeah.
So last year, the budget was approved at 826. Projected they're going to spend 671, so we would pay the half of the 671.
Right.
And whatever the totals of those columns are. So it's a after the fact spend, we pay 50%, not half of what's budgeted.
Correct, yeah. But things for the most part have relatively stayed the same. And I was talking to Mr. Stringer beforehand. The budgeted amount in 2025 for salaries and overtime, if you take the overtime line shows 50,000. The approved budget was for 25,000, but I had to transfer some money out of the salaries. So it kind of throws those numbers off. So if you add $25,000 to the 826,000, that gives you the correct number of what was actually budgeted. So it's not that low. I know it looks like it's quite the increase, but that plays into some of that also. So until we get fully staffed, I'm still asking for a fairly significant amount of overtime money. And I'm thinking, that should taper off as we get more people. Obviously, once we get fully staffed, our minimum staffing number will go from 2 to 3. But I've already been talking with the supervisors to make sure that we have our schedule set up so that we're not scheduling at that minimum number, so that if somebody gets sick or, need time off, we don't have to find overtime or coverage that's going to cost overtime. So that's one of our plans that we are going to try to focus on next year to reduce our overtime spending, because we have hit overtime pretty hard the last couple of years, just being shorthanded. Now we're getting our numbers up, and there's really should be no reason for that, because we're getting more manpower to be able to cover those shifts. The top couple lines are insurance, FICA, PERF, insurance, stuff I really don't have much control over. Clothing allowance is going to have to go up a little bit just because we have more people. So that is the reason for that increase. Office supplies, the communication line, those are going to stay the same. The travel expense, those will stay the same. Utilities, I did bump up. I was thinking I was going to be able to get away with a lower number. That obviously didn't happen. I'm hoping that I don't have to move a little bit of money around. I'm just going to be a couple $100 short, it looks like, if the projected numbers pan out. So I bumped that up to 11,000. Repair and maintenance, it's kind of a crapshoot. You just don't know when or if things are going to break down. And, we've got some equipment in there that's getting some age on it. And I always hope that we don't have too many issues with that kind of stuff. Other services, those numbers are really messed up. As I was explaining earlier, that is from money that we encumbered to pay for the new emergency, like evacuation 911 phones. They're called MEVO phones. So if we would ever have to evacuate, we could take those phones, call our 911 provider. All of the 911 phone calls for the county would be routed to those phones. Initially, they would be routed to Adams County until we got them hooked or up and running. It takes about 30 minutes to get it up and running, but Adams County would get our calls. Once we are establish another location for the dispatch center, we would be up and running on those. So the Mevo phones and then a new maintenance plan, we negotiated that last year with InDigital, who does our 911 service. We had to get a fourth 911 phone in the dispatch center. The original 3 were on one maintenance plan, and it was just silly to have 2 different maintenance plans, so we rolled everything together, and in order to pay for everything, this all happened late in the year. I just asked the city if I could encumber that money, so those numbers are really messed up. I was budgeted $1,500 for that, and it's showing that I'm going to spend $37,000, which I will when it's all said and done. Where else we at here? Trainings, we do a lot of in-house trainings. Our protocol system that we use, it was PowerPhone. They've changed their name to Total Response. So when somebody calls 911, the dispatcher is able to provide them with CPR instructions if needed, other things. If it's a fire run, they're all trained in fire service dispatch, emergency medical dispatch, and law enforcement dispatch. So they have protocols on a screen that they can instruct the caller what they need to do. That company, we don't even pay for it. The Indiana 911 board, there are certain trainings and certain companies that they will pay your training fee for. And it's just a little over $4,000 for their training library, and they have access to it. I get that invoice, I submit it to Indiana 911 board, and they pay 100% of it. So that frees up some of this money then where we can go and attend some trainings. And I've sent all of my supervisors to supervisor training. We've had a few new trainers, so they've been sent to, it's called CTO training. So they're trained on how to train new dispatchers. We will be attending, it's the first time since COVID that we will be attending the 911 Professionals Conference this year in Indianapolis, which is put on by NENA, which is a national emergency number, and the Indiana 911 board. So it'll be kind of nice. There's 3 days of breakout sessions, so there's a lot of training that will be there. So we haven't really utilized a lot of that just with, like I said, COVID and just things getting back to normal. So we've done a lot of training online, but now I'm hoping, that training online is good, but it is somewhat limited, and it's kind of nice to be in a face-to-face class, maybe some hands-on stuff. So keeping that the same. Equipment and furniture, I've dropped that down to $30,000. It just depends. It's another thing. It's kind of like the repair and maintenance. You just don't know. And we do have a chair that broke, and if I go with a 911 company chair, they're like $3,500. So, and believe it or not, furniture is one thing that the Indiana 911 board will not pay for, and of any kind. So, I've always kind of kept that somewhat high, because a couple years ago we had a console that quit working, where the dispatcher sat, and those are $28,000. And we decided to replace it with an uplift desk. That was 17 months ago, and that uplift desk works perfectly fine. So I'm kind of sold on those. I don't know that we need to spend $28,000 on consoles when I can get an L-shaped uplift desk for $1,700. So that's where we're at on things.
So let's went through all the steps, everybody's voted, approved, so it goes from us to the county council to the city.
Council and then the city.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Only took 4 times what we got her.
You got it.
Thank you very much.
Do we have the radios? Did we ever figure out radios? I know the EMA director tells me how bad our radios are.
No, they applied for the grant, didn't really qualify. I think we talked about that.
We have, yeah.
Yeah, and,
There's still some work being done though.
yeah.
There's still a lot of other grants that we're looking into and looking for.
But I know there was such an elevated cost on that, because at first they were wanting to do all the fire departments, because they're wanting to encrypt a channel, encrypt the radios. And my whole thing is, we have some additional tactical channels. And my thought is that we encrypt one of those, the fire departments then are out of the picture. That's not going to affect anything. We wouldn't have to buy newer radios that can take the encryption. All we would have to do is encrypt our radio console, and then I think the police radios that would receive it. And so it would cut that cost down tremendously.
And that's a state mandated, right? Because if
Yeah,
they
it's-
give a child's minor's name over their ways
Yeah.
or social security number.
Personal information, yeah.
It's got to be
And,
encrypted
yeah,
going
it's a
forward. So
state
it's
law, so
mandated that we do that.
right now, everybody's done just a really good job of, you just don't put it on the radio. But sometimes that's not always the easiest way, especially if there's some type of emergency or
Right.
whatever. So, we're working around it, but there's a better way to do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rena?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm coming before you tonight to ask for 24-hour courthouse availability the week of October 7th through October 13th. We are having a company come in, U.S. Imaging out of Michigan, to scan and digitize the rest of the books in the office and some microfilm. After this is done, every piece of microfilm and 408 books of county records will be digitized for disaster recovery. This same company was here in 2002 with a 24-hour access as well. They run 2 12-hour shifts. They're veterans that they hire that come in and do it, so they alternate those 12-hour shifts. I don't anticipate that it's going to take those 7 days to do this, but that's what they are allowing for. I've spoke with Bobby, and when they were here before, I believe they used the back room in community corrections. She said if that wasn't available, that the room downstairs behind the break room could be utilized. But I'm just coming before commissioners to grant that 24-hour access.
Yeah, we did this several times over my span, and whatever is accommodating to make it inexpensive and accessible, I'm all for it. I have no problem.
It keeps our books and our microfilm here on site versus sending it out. If you send it out, you may never get it back. And when you've got all those years of histories of books that has every land transaction in the county and every mortgage in the county, it's rather important to keep them here on site.
We need a motion.
That would be a motion.
Okay, I'll second that motion then.
All in favor?
Aye.
0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Harnish.
Starts to speak, gentlemen. I'll pass out. This is a revised version of the resolution.
Is this
I
one
would suggest,
different?
no, there's going to be one for each of you, however you want to do it.
This is one emailed out today.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hi, gentlemen, thank you very much. Brandon Harnish, on County Council, here with Seth Wicker, County Council President, and Steve Pastore, the Vice President of the Foundation Board. Here to talk to you tonight about the revitalization project. The foundation was approached by a company called Pago. I believe you're all familiar with that. You've been given the information over the course of the last few months. And I'll actually just toss it over to Steve now to talk a little bit about the foundation's point of view on this. I'll let Steve speak for the foundation.
Thank you, Brandon. Again, my name's Steve Pastore. I'm the Vice President of the Wells County Foundation Board. I'll just read a brief statement here as I tend to ramble on. I won't take too much of your time here if I stay on script. So, we've been through many meetings over the course of probably a year now in considering this. And, I think as we sit here today, we really have two options. First is the option to do nothing, and we don't have to do anything here. If we choose to do nothing, I believe, many of us know the state of downtown buildings. Looking at data from Bluffton now, 29.8% of second floor space is unused or unusable. 26.9% of third floor space in downtown is empty or unusable as well. And this is despite, many matching grant opportunities Bluffton now has presented. Many of these properties remain in poor condition and or are vacant. I certainly understand the concern of government influence in the private sector here. The reality is, there are a few aspects of the private market that don't have some government influence. We know that, it's just a part of the way business is done. When the city or the county, sees properties that are dilapidated and the market doesn't show interest in them, it's not uncommon for, a municipality to step in and possibly tear those buildings down. We view this, possible intervention from the county and city to be an opportunity to be proactive, with substantial impact in the community rather than a tear down. I understand there's certainly risk involved in that, whenever the county and the city officials consider this proposal. I appreciate any reservations you might have, any questions you might have. We appreciate your diligence to, public funds and acting responsibly. Foundation shares in that. We have an obligation to be responsible to our generous donors as well and don't take this opportunity lightly and it's been considered at great length. I'd like you to consider the risks of doing nothing in not pursuing this. What occurs if we don't invest in these properties? I think it's likely that these buildings continue to deteriorate, and then we look at the cost of demolition, and we look at, where does that cost go, quite possibly to the taxpayer at that point. I hope we'll consider option two, which would be to take this opportunity and be a part of making Bluffton thrive again. A piece of the Wells County's mission is to participate in the enhancement and quality of the life of the Wells County community. I believe this is an outstanding opportunity and maybe, a very unique opportunity to do just that. And I hope, we'll partner here today in this venture. Thank you.
I'll toss it over to Seth here.
Yeah, and actually I'm here more representing my role on the foundation than I am as county council president, two separate roles. One of the things that, when this first came on my radar a year and a half ago, and obviously the process looks a lot different today than it did then, is I went over to Van Wert, Ohio, have some business over there, went over there and saw how transformative it was in Van Wert. Same in Hillsdale, Michigan. Richmond, Indiana, just found out they're part of the program. They've already acquired, I believe, 10 buildings under contract in the first couple months. They have a couple more that they're doing. I have received calls from Tipton, who just got into the program. They're starting it a little bit slower, but they're moving forward with it. So is, I don't want to go out on the limb too far because I didn't talk to any people firmly involved in Huntington or Wabash, but I heard that they're both in the process of joining the program as well. I think a lot of these small communities are at a crossroads. What do? How are we going to be competitive when we have Fort Wayne that's 30 miles away? I've told people myself, one of the reasons I was supportive of this is that I live out in Uniondale, right? I can drive to Fort Wayne and go to dinner anywhere I want 20 minutes away. What's in Bluffton? Now, there's some good places, but there's just not an abundance of places to where that you can really take your when I can just jump and again be 5 or 10 minutes further, I'm in Fort Wayne. So when you start to look at these smaller communities and how we have to reinvest in them, and then the ask from the county was, hey, the foundation's willing to pony up the money to be the equity owner of these, because I was against that. When it was first proposed, it was that the county actually becomes an equity owner and gives $1 million. We shouldn't do that. But if we can be supportive in the project, how can we make that look different? And this is where these iterations, when everybody says, well, nobody knew about this project, as well, this project really didn't come to a model that was going to work until about 2-3 months ago when it started getting out there. So the purpose behind it was that it's a loan to the foundation, which goes to then the land trust.
It's going to be secured by buildings of the land trust. So it is a secured loan through the buildings of the land trust. So I view that risk as being relatively low on our end, in a way to be able to reinvest money back into our community. Again, like I said publicly, buying properties that the private sector would already be doing if they could make money off of doing it. But in order to do it, you can't just buy them, tear them down, build something new, or you won't get your historical tax credits to bring it back to the historical nature of what those buildings are meant to be, and to make the community look nice. So that's why I've always been supportive of this project. Again, not the way it originally was, because I didn't think we had any business as a county government entity owning the land or the buildings. This way, we can provide a loan that's still going to be secured by those, that limits the risk. And by the way, this isn't unusual out there. You know, county governments, state governments always give, whether it's tax abatements, they give, it's an extreme example, but Lucas Oil Stadium, the state was heavily involved in that. Tin Cap Stadium, we see it all the time to make your community better. It's not unusual for state governments, local governments to get involved in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, I would just add to that, in my estimation, this is more than an economic development project. This is about the will to survive. This is about vitality. It's about planting our flag and saying that Wells County is not going to stare population decline in the face and back down. We're actually going to reinvest in our own people, in our own community, and we're going to fight. I know Wabash right now, I think they were mentioned as a team, a county that's going to put a team together and get involved in something like this. They're facing population decline. I want to build a community where my little daughter wants to stay, and then she'll have kids, and they'll stay here too. And that's how we fight population decline. So that's sort of the broader view that I'm taking on this project. It really is about building a community that is multi-generational, where, you know, the rest of the world, they may be facing population decline, but people here have hope. People here want to have families, and those families are going to stay because we have a beautiful, historic community.
Seth, you'd mentioned before that the foundation was going to back it. Now you're saying the land trust is going to back it?
It's going to be collateralized by, through the land, yeah. I went back to the foundation because, when being on the foundation, one of the issues that I had is that the foundation's already ponying up a lot of money. However, what we can do, which to me still uses the money as, is being collateralized, is by using the buildings that we're purchasing will be the collateral for the loan, instead of the foundation personally. So as a foundation member, I felt more comfortable with that myself than the foundation being on the hook for it.
Is there enough assets to cover $2 million, one for the city and one for...
As they're being purchased, there would be, yes.
In my understanding...
Thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner, because that is different than what I said before.
My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, either of you, but I believe the foundation's desire is to use its own money first, at which point they would have those assets. Then when purchases are made using the line of credit, if it were to come to that, there would already be a securitized, I mean, you'd have presumably $3 million of assets, at which point the line of credit would start to extend. Well, that, you're dipping into a $2 million line of credit and you have $3 million of assets, so it's totally secured.
So is the city and the county first on the line of credit once it's used before the foundation then? So if they're going to put up $3 million.
My suggestion is going to be that once the county, and I think that the city had the same plan, starts loaning money, the loan has to be for a specific asset. At that point, the lenders, which would be the city and the county, would have a mortgage on that particular piece of real estate acquired by that particular draw. Each time there would be a draw or a request for funds, the county and the city would expend funds for that loan, like a line of credit, and then that would be coupled with a security instrument in the form of a mortgage of that property being purchased. The use of a land trust, LLC, versus the foundation is merely the vehicle. It would not put, in my opinion, the county at a greater risk by using this. What it would do, it would be to separate the other operations of the community foundation from this particular aspect. And so again, it would be singular to the acquisition of any new properties. And I hope these gentlemen would nod their heads in agreement with that.
Yeah.
My other question was, and Brandon, we talked about this, the 90,000 be a retainer structure versus a upfront sum.
My understanding at this juncture, that was a recent proposal. I've not got confirmation one way or the other on that. I don't know that there's much optimism, but I have not had any conversations with Eric about that. I think the mayor had talked with him, but I don't know that it's, at this point, I don't know that it's a go.
The idea would be that there's clear KPIs, and once you hit those, you get a paycheck. If you don't hit them, you don't get a paycheck.
My understanding on the retainer, the model that I'm familiar with was that the retainer would be paid back in the event that a project was closed. And that, I think, is the model where I'm not optimistic that it would be feasible. Whether or not there are KPIs, I think, is a worthwhile, I mean, nothing has been signed yet. So as the land trust and the foundation enter into an agreement with PAYGO, that negotiation will take place. And if the land trust wants to see KPIs, then they can go forward with that.
I think the only other one is, I know I see people in the audience, that the question's going to be, will we do this for Austin, will we do this for Markle? So it is all Wells County, right? And this is Wells
I've
County
had a number
Foundation.
of people reach out to me, and a couple of things on that front. One is that the land trust would determine, because this is going to be run through that land trust, which is owned by the foundation, what buildings or projects do they want to get in front of. To me, this is all about, to make these work, you got to get the tax credits right. So a lot of historical tax credits are the right building that fits that model to where they would qualify for historical tax credits and the new tax credits to make the rehab part work. What I don't want to do is just to help somebody support any project, they then flip it, make a bunch of money, and then it ends up deteriorating in the next 10 to 20 years with the next ownership. That's not this model. This model is that, because I spoke to somebody today and they said, well, so the foundation's just going to sell the buildings. I'm like, no, that's not the idea of it, because we'll be back here in 20 or 30 years with the same problem. If it just gets flipped and flipped, and you get landlords that are just watching the pennies that they're pinching and not reinvesting in the building, and they fall apart again. So the idea is that this stays within the foundation.
I wouldn't support it if it didn't stay within the foundation.
Will that be contractual somehow, that the land trust has to keep it?
So I'm working on that right now.
Yes.
I know there's people here that want to ask about it. Should we, before we vote, hear from them, or what do you guys want to make a motion, or what are you thinking? Any input, discussion? Questions?
You're the president. I mean, I've been here all my life, and very seldom do we ever have an opportunity that somebody presents to us. You know, we're always searching and reaching out, building a spec building, or trying to entice. This is reverse. They're coming to us, and not that we're owning it, but we would partner with them. I like the idea. I want exactly what Brandon wants. I've got 3 granddaughters, 6, 7, and 9, and I want them to be around too. So I think this would be beneficial and huge for our community.
If we're not willing to invest in our own homes, I don't think we can expect anyone else to do it.
That's it.
And the city did already approve their commitment, just in case anybody's not there. The city did do it.
The benefit of joint city-county venture when it comes to grants is we can demonstrate that we have a shared vision, that we're willing as a county to back what our communities are doing. And, you know, on the matter of, you know, other towns, it's the Wells County Foundation. And as a council member, I can speak for myself that if the Wells County Foundation sees fit to help elevate other communities in Wells County, I'm all in support.
I might, there isn't a actual list of defined properties at this point. There's been some suggested properties, but as Seth pointed out, the reason these properties get suggested is because they qualify. And we, this has been the area, the downtown Bluffton area is what it's been focused on because we know these are going to be buildings that qualify. I know some of the surrounding areas have been some conversation, more recently. And I don't think anyone's closed the door on anything like that, but, in order to work, just as Seth said, it has to fit that model. The only way the money works is if we're getting historical credit money. And so, that may be limited. It's not that, an effort to exclude any other areas. It just may be, this is what fits and this was what does not.
And the other last thing, and then I'll stop, is that this isn't just the beginning and end. There's going to be a big push to go after a lot of grant money, a lot of other money out there that I hope that in the end, they don't end up needing our money because they found a lot of other grant money out there. But it does say to people when you're applying for grants that not just the foundation's on board, but the city is on board, the county is on board, which does help to free up some other resources out there potentially. So we are going to continue to go after a lot of other grants out there, not just the money that we currently have.
And my struggle is giving the loan before you have the contract. It's backwards from what you would do in the private sector, but it seems like everything in government is backwards, so.
This resolution is essentially the commitment of the county, not necessarily the loan. It's the commitment of the county to at least have funds available if there's something there. I just wanted to point out that the resolution that I just passed out to you is essentially the same as the resolution that was presented at the last Board of Commissioner meeting. There have been some changes just to identify who the actual quote-unquote borrower would be, and then to identify a couple tweaks on the reimbursement terms. But other than that, it's essentially the same with the corrected name of the borrower, which, as Mr. Wicker has said, is wholly owned by the Community Foundation.
Well, it's a secure loan, so I don't see any risk there.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal as presented and revised by Mr. Thorpe.
I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0.
It's resolution 2025-08.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more time.
2025-08.
08.
Yep.
And so do I need updated copies for council? Because I printed them off the wrong.
The promissory note that was provided in your packet was just an example. It's nothing final. You have not approved the promissory note. There may be some tweaks to it. That's just an example.
Okay. The agent of record change, there's a paper, this one here, this is Board of Commissioners. What this is, there's been some issues in the past with timeliness and thoroughness, and I've made the recommendation that we take our record of agent and move it from Walker Hughes and move it to the right insurance, the same carriers, the same policies, the same everything. It just gives us a different broker to use. Any discussion or questions or anything around that?
Do we need all signatures or just you as president?
Just one signature on 4 different papers.
So the motion would be to make the change and for approval, I can sign it.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. All right, miscellaneous.
Only thing left is the opioid Purdue Pharma participation and release form.
We've been notified of a new settlement coming from the, I'm going to say the Purdue Pharma. So it's a new settlement that we have to participate. We've got to sign the document indicating our participation and record that prior to September 30. We need one signature, that could be the President of the Board of Commissioners, for Wells County to participate. I would certainly recommend that we participate in doing so.
Yeah, I'll make the motion, allow our president to sign that.
Yep, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Do we have to appoint somebody?
And that's you.
Authorized official, right?
Currently, there's a little bit more to that.
Thank you.
There's a little bit more to that. The prior recorded agent for Wells County was the prior county attorney. So the electronic notices still go to him. I would suggest that we move that to someone else so that they get these notices. She's not looking up, so I'm going to say I would suggest the auditor. But if you want to make that count, I would really suggest that you have that going to someone at Wells County government. So I would suggest that that person be the auditor.
The auditor. That's part of my motion.
I do.
Pressure is off. Sorry, Jeff, I know you wanted it bad.
We still need you to sign though, President.
Yes.
Appreciate that. What else do you have, Lisa?
I don't have anything else.
Well, the advisory board.
Oh, advisory board, yes.
I'm willing, because I don't think have we made any moves on that yet?
No.
I'm happy to, unless there's objection, take that over and form that board. The only thing I would ask of my fellow commissioners here is, do we want that to be a 5 or a 7-member board? And are we good with keeping the city, excluding the city from that board, only because they have their own opioid funds and their own decision-making with that?
Right, they've already done theirs.
Right.
I gave her, Lisa, somebody from probation, maybe somebody out of the sheriff office. And again, these can be
Yeah, and I'll take
their
that.
departments, and they can appoint somebody.
Who they want.
Council has a person, the commissioners have a person, somebody from the health department, and somebody with mental health experience.
So is that 5 or 7?
7.
7.
Yeah, give me the.
So probation.
Okay, probation.
Sheriff, prosecuting, or community corrections. And then a council and a commissioner appointee, or if you want to serve. And then mental health and somebody from the health department.
And this board would be the ones that review funding distribution?
And then bring suggestions for us to
Yeah.
disperse out
Okay.
in amounts that we agree to. They don't have to be all expended in 1 year at one time. You know, we can plan it and stagger it out. So if somebody gets 100 grand, you don't want to do that, maybe 25, you know, or whatever, whatever this, they would bring. I did talk to Greg Werrick about it, and he said he would be glad to help. I see Steve was here, maybe he'd want to be on that. I mean,
Okay.
these guys are that's their field.
Right.
They deal with it daily, so.
Seven members.
I would feel comfortable, anybody in that
I'll start reaching
realm.
out. I'll start reaching out,
Perfect, thanks, Mike.
and I'll get that rounded up by the November meeting.
All right, open it up to anybody who wants to speak on the floor. LA?
I'd just like to point out that the RSD is reimbursing the county for 27,000 of the 33,000 that the paving at Kingston. We had suggested that our contractor not finish what he had done, just temporarily finish it. We have an agreement with Sean, right? With Sean that if we would set that money aside, that they would use it and do a good job of redoing that street. So I think that's going to work out really well.
Great.
Thank you.
And you got your funding for toxin, is that correct?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. We got $2 million in forgivable loan, forgivable ban, and then the rest in a low interest loan. So we're scrambling around to try to meet the deadlines. So,
Okay.
we do have all the design all done, so it's just a matter of going back and getting easements, and we only have a couple of those, and then asking for anybody that wants to be exempt, things like that. So, but we're working on all that.
We get the flow and the whole county will be done, right? Well, the north part of the county, we still gotta go south.
Yeah, that-
Petroleum, Keystone, that area.
Right, there's still others, but, yeah. Just keep plugging at it.
Great.
Thanks for the money that you guys gave, I think that really helps.
Thanks for leading that, helping lead that, LA, I appreciate it.
For sure, for sure.
Anybody else?
Good evening. I'm Josh Barkley, representing the town of Ossian, and just wanted to kind of give you an update and under advisement of a project that Ossian's been working on for quite a few years in the fashion of Bluffton's downtown revitalization. We've worked on, for the past close to 20 years, revitalization of Ossian's downtown. And this is going back to previous economic development director days, working through, downtown project. Ossian had a blighted building that was given to us between the BKM building and the Napa building. Ossian took that down, and then from there, history-wise, put out RFPs for projects, and we are close on a project that is, we've been working on for a couple years now, but ultimately, it's a mixed-use project, a $5.4 million building that is mixed use, first floor apartments and storefront. Storefront will face the road between Craig and State Road 1. And it's, the developer is one that we all well know because we've partnered with him. The county has partnered with Logan Properties in the building of the two spec buildings previously. So that developer has a great history with the town and Wells County, obviously, in the partnership there in regard to the spec buildings. Really just coming to you guys tonight just to initially introduce the project, introduce the ask, piggyback, and I think I mentioned to you guys on the phone 6 months ago, I never necessarily would have thought about one developer and or the town coming to, Wells County, what's good for Bluffton, what is good for Ossian, is good for Markle. We're all one county, not just individual towns ultimately. And so obviously want to work out through the details, but we would again, the town of Ossian via the developer would ask for that $1 million line of credit as well, along with a $90,000 development fee. I know it sounds like it's still being maybe worked out on the other project, but I commend the folks in Bluffton on initially coming up with the project, and again, a project that we're actually close on. Capital stack wise, there's been an approved IEDC tax credit that's everyone in this room knows government can move, I'm not going to say a snail's pace, but that's up in the air. Obviously, we have a new governor, new administration, and IEDC is working through that. We've also verbally, and they said they would give us, you'd asked the question, ready funds. There's a $800,000 ready award that's ultimately pending from the RDA, partly a $400,000 grant, and then also a $400,000 low interest to zero interest loan. We've set up our TIF district. We set that up a good, it's been almost 2 years now that we're going to work through with that. But I would agree with Mr. Harnish's sentiment of, I think, all the leaders in Ossian, I mean, everyone in this room wants to see Wells County grow. We want to make sure that we all have great streets, we all have sewers, you've invested in the sewer district, all the things that we've done over the last 20 years to get us to where we are now, between Bluffton Now's efforts and Ossian's revitalization's efforts. Currently, we are a partner with Wells County Revitalization, which is an arm of the foundation, in the buying of the Napa building that's currently in Wells County Revitalization's, the deeds in their name. Ossian has put money toward that. So ultimately, I want to keep discussing this with you, but we're very close to where we want to hopefully see, pending agreements and everything else, that this fall or next spring, that we're going to start the project in Ossian. So again, just wanted to bring it to you, not asking for any decisions, or if there's any questions in regard to it. I know we can not make your meeting even longer than it has to be. So any questions?
My thoughts are we put the money into the CDs or the, what do we call them? They're CDs? With a certain percentage of interest. I'd rather invest that into projects as long as there's a backstop and a guarantee we can get the money back at the same interest rate.
Sure.
Put the money to work instead of just sitting on the shelf at the bank.
And that's one thing we're working through. I know it was mentioned earlier about people flipping projects. This isn't this project. We've actually already have a 10-year commitment that if a project was sold, that the town would get their initial investment, things of that nature, that we're still, obviously working through the final agreements. But that was one thing that I felt was important, that I don't want somebody to build a project just to turn around and to sell it to equity in New York City. So ultimately.
On those spec buildings, we covered the interest for a certain amount of time, right?
Yep.
So I think we've stepped up some on that side to make
Yeah.
sure that we've.
Oh, no, and ultimately, that developer's been proven. He sold his first one. We're very, very close to going under contract on that second building. So it's, I think, been a good investment for all of Wells County. Obviously Ossian, but ultimately it's jobs for all of Wells County, so.
I think the difference between the two, just listening, is that the foundation, what I want to see with the foundation one is that it's locked up, they can't sell it. This one's for profit, so.
Sure.
The structure might be somewhat different.
Sure.
Right. That's the key. There's nuances that are different there than here.
But I'm with you. I think, and we've talked about this, me and Brandon talked about this, that Bluffton's a great city, but it's not the only city, so we need to make sure we're investing money for Wells County.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks.
Anybody else? Any other comments? Holly?
Yeah, before everybody scatters, I do just have a clarifying question. So there's not a contract between the foundation and PAYGO yet?
No.
Agreed upon. And so when they embark on that process, does the county have any representation in that process
Yes.
via their board member, or will they be included in that negotiation?
An appointed board member to the trust.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that.
So do I. Yep. I want to make sure too. You good?
Yep.
Lisa? Commissioners?
All good.
Good.
Council? All right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.